Instagram, the central bank of dating. Today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we are going to explain how Instagram is actually the central bank of the dating market right now. And yes, please bear with me because I'm going to use economics in order to explain this particular concept. And first, let's go with the boring economic stuff, and then we are going to end up with the fun dating stuff. So first, let's explain what a central bank does. Usually, it's the lender of last resort in order to, cover expenses for the government and commercial banks at any particular economy. And that's, quote unquote, the technical definition of a central bank. In practice, the central bank all over the world, depending, of course, on the country and the territory and the currency and that kind of thing, is going to be the one that issues the money, the currency used at any given territory. For instance, you can say, some economists are not going to like this, but the Federal Reserve in the United States is the, quote unquote, the central bank of the United States. And many economists are not going to agree with that particular regard because they say the Federal Reserve is a private institution, and that's debatable. But usually, because in most countries, the central bank is actually a public institution. So de facto, the central bank hence prints the money, but also kind of like they drive the incentives on each economy regarding interest rates. And basically, that's a signal for private institutions and private investors and banks and governments and that kind of thing that drives how the investment and the operations, talking on the macro level, how are influencing the economy overall at any given territory. So the central banks, usually they manipulate the interest rate of reference at any particular economy, and they do so in order to stimulate spending, saving, investing, and all of that good stuff. And of course, with terrible consequences most of the time on the long run, because many times that creates first a lot of debt, that the bad debt is bad for the economy overall, and that's why you have many countries with a lot of debt to GDP ratios, that the United States is one of them. We saw that on Greece economy like a decade and a half, was a big deal back then, the Greece economy. And also, many times what happens is, in order to stimulate the public spending of the local government, usually governments worldwide, they run trade deficits, fiscal deficits. That means that the government spends more than it makes, and hence the central bank has to print money out of thin air in order to cover that deficit, that fiscal deficit, that devaluates the currency and do it all over again and over again. And many times what ends up happening is they destroy the value of the currency and hinders the further economic growth for the average citizen. Now, let's explain why Instagram, this is just food for thought, this is just a metaphor, is the central bank of dating, how this particular social media platform became the central bank of dating. Okay, first let's explain how the dating market works. It's basically the sum of transactions, quote unquote, this particular case, dates and relationships and that kind of thing, amongst basically two kinds of group, the heterosexual women and heterosexual men, and of course, people from the community LGBTQ also have their own dating going on. But just for the sake of the conversation, we are going to focus on, let's say, straight dating. Anyways, so basically, men want to, biologically, they want to mate with females. Very good. And females want to mate only with a handful of those men. This concept is known in psychology as hypergamy, that women only mate with men with superior socioeconomic status, depending on the looks, the physique, the wealth. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, So what happens is that men, in order to access mating, the transaction with women, they need to provide, of course, value. And that particular value is, let's call attention. Attention is the currency on this particular metaphor. And back on the day, before social media, you can get the attention of a female, maybe sending flowers or a gift or just doing something on your local particular market. And hence, depending on the investment on attention, you might be or not be successful. So a transaction on the mating market, on the dating market, mating market, a transaction was settled using certain amounts of attention that women provide. And of course, you have that particular transaction. However, since the advent of social media, especially this particular platform, Instagram, that attention becomes worthless because right now you have more supply and oversupply of attention. Hence, the currency is being devalued, debased, and you have basically an hyperinflation on the attention currency. And right now, the dating market today is basically globalized. So we have globalization. Back on the day, let's yet again go to it with economics, that before globalization, we had, for instance, in the United States, you have factories of basically each product on your hometown, on your country, and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, after the dollarization, right now, it's cheaper to produce most goods and services in places like China. They are more efficient, and hence the average consumer prefers the ROI on price and quality of a particular good, a particular product from other countries compared to the United States, where it is more expensive and less efficient to produce a low-end product. So the consumer prefers a Chinese product, a Vietnam product, something like that, or a Mexican product instead of the local one. Same thing happens with dating, because right now we are on a globalized market, dating market, and many women, not all, prefer something outside of their local market, because you have, of course, women praise mostly good looks and status and wealth of a particular mate, and I'm not going to discuss why. I mean, I'm not an evolutionary psychologist, but I'm an economist, kind of, and that's why we're talking about this today. But the main point is that they are going to prefer, sometimes, guys, for instance, a female from a small town maybe prefers to date a successful man from, let's say, New York or Miami or Los Angeles, places like that, instead of dating the successful one on their particular dating market. And how this particular transaction is settled is, of course, the attention using Instagram, that the attention from the quote-unquote successful guys on bigger markets goes through Instagram, of course, and sends the attention to the particular female on a small town, hence making attention less valuable, the average attention. So you need more units of currency in order to get the attention of an average female, aka you have attention inflation. On this particular case, in attention hyperinflation. Now, if you're watching this, how do you solve this particular attention hyperinflation from the central bank, aka in this particular case, Instagram, issuing this inorganic money supply, on this particular case, attention supply? How do you solve it? Well, and also you have to think about that we have a globalized dating market, so you have to solve attention hyperinflation in a globalized market. How do you solve it? Well, thanks to economics, we already know the answer. Well, the first part, hyperinflation, how do you solve it? Easy. You use your particular currency, your devaluated currency, on long-term store value. You invest in gold, in silver, in Bitcoin, on profitable businesses, and so on and so on. So that's the first thing, using just economic analysis, is that use your attention on things that are gonna provide value for the long run, regarding skills, regarding assets, and that kind of thing. So you have to look this is a particular thing about central banks. They like to have gold reserves because those particular reserves store value and universally are considered valuable for financial purposes. Anyway, I'm not saying go and buy gold, something like that. No, this is not that kind of video. But what I'm saying is that use your attention instead of artificially devaluing it on a platform like Instagram. Create value with such attention, aka your currency, for something that is going to be a long term, it's going to give you long term regarding store value and maybe a good ROI on the future. It could be improving a skill, improving a business, getting real assets, actually, could be like real estate, something like that, acquire experience. So any improvement that you can do using that particular attention instead of on just giving it away on social media is going to give you a great ROI. And the second thing regarding globalization. How do you solve globalization? Well, something that you cannot be solved. We are on a deregulated dating market, and the way that you solve it is basically you create a more efficient supply chain. For instance, right now is on trend on economics, the term nearshoring, that instead of sending your supply chain to a remote place that can create some hiccups regarding supply chain and transportation, that kind of thing, you do nearshoring. So you do it efficiently, but close to home. And the most basic case is the United States, that has basically most of their industrial production. United States produces a lot of goods and services, by the way. Many people think that the United States doesn't produce anything. That's false. They produce a lot, but still have to import more that they produce regarding industrial output. Okay. Now, used to be that they imported a lot of manufactured goods from China. And it was efficient until Trump, because the tariffs and that kind of thing. And also we had COVID and the supply chain disruption and so on. So you get the point. However, and also China, China is China. So it is what it is. So not going to get too political on that. So one of the solutions proposed is using nearshoring. So instead of sending the industrial production to a very remote and sometimes hostile place like China, you send it close to home to a more friendly place. In this particular case, could be Mexico. So Mexico still has a very important industrial output, not as important as China or other places, but still very solid industrials and a great relationship with the United States. So now they export their manufactured goods to the United States. I mean, they have done since many decades, thanks to NAFTA. We already discussed this. Anyways, now, how you can nearshore the dating market? Well, very simple. You find a market that is more efficient than your own, and that particular market has similar traits that you're looking for with a better ROI, and hence you are going to get more efficiency on your dating transaction, hence having nearshoring. So that's basically the sense. And by the way, I'm going to close the video, but I have to say this is just food for thought. By the way, this is just our Sunday fun video in order to relax. And in this particular case, I'm not disregarding economics. I'm already talking about economics. I like to do so. And in this particular case, please, this is just food for thought. Just take it with a grain of salt. But if you want to solve the hyperinflation on attention, very simple. Short the currency and nearshoring. Basically, that will be the technical way in order to solve this particular issue with Instagram as a central bank.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.